First of all, thanking the UNDP representative who has made this workshop or this seminar to be possible. We did it before and it's being done again. First of all, let me appreciate him. Let us also appreciate the governor who has mandated, because behind the scene is the governor driving this to making it possible. And let me also thank our chairman, Professor Dochko Bodna. Though absent here, but he's with us because his desire is to be with us here. But unfortunately, he's unavoidably absent here. But let us know that he is part of us, what we're doing here. I want to thank the current regime who is doing this constantly. This is just some months after doing the first one, we already having another workshop. That is what makes a worker to be informed. That is what makes a worker to be updated. That is what makes one to be in line with the current issues, more especially as regards to taxation. So, and looking at the topic, we find out that it relates directly to tax and taxation issues, governance, reporting, and tax, and evaluation of tax expenditure for tax remunerators in Abia State. We know that we are the relevant tax authorities in the sense that we are government agents, government workers, or government people who, on behalf of the government, do the collection for the tax. So we must be abreast of all the issues that work around governance and also taxation, so that it will also equip us to be able to do best, not better, best in our profession. Because the government's intention is to maximize revenue collection, and there are no other person can do it better than we that are here. So that is why we are called upon to give in our very best so that we get the best out of it. So as colleagues in this profession, I want you all to tap into whatever lesson that is meant for this program, so at the end of it, we'll translate it, so that at the end of it all, we'll thank the government for having started this. Also, we'll thank the UNDP who are partnering with the state to do this. Please, giving your very, very best so that you get the best out of it. That's my opening remark. I believe the chairman will also be here at the appropriate time to encourage us to get the best out of it. Good afternoon all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On that note, we have to introduce ourselves, not taking note of our time. Better we know the people that are around.
And share knowledge on achieving effective tax administration system in Nigeria. That's what we have in that paper. But as I looked at the audience, I discovered that if we talk only about Nigeria, we will not address the topic. That's why I moderated the topic to strategies and best practices for Abia State. It's not what you have there, but I had to moderate it so that we'll focus on Abia State essentially. I want to stand on existing protocol and extend my appreciation to the management of the board for inviting me the second time. And I believe this is the way to go. This is the way to go. Training and retraining. The purpose is to build capacity, competence, and effectiveness. And the bottom line is that you'll be in a position to do better than you have been doing before in your local place of assignment. And the government is showing the will that is very crucial for leapfrogging other states, especially in areas connected to tax revenue generation. I believe next year, when the result comes out, Abia will be better than where it is today. Presently, Abia is number 15 out of the 36 states in Nigeria. You're going to see all those details. So the purpose of this training is, how do we move Abia? Ebonyi State is in the first 5. How did it happen? How are they in the first 5? They have only 13 local governments. Then Abia State has 17 local governments. Why is Ebonyi State performing better than Abia State? We want to find out why. That is effective tax administration. Why is Imo State, that is presently having 27 local governments, posting number 23 or 24 in terms of revenue generation? So you discover it's not just a matter of the size of the local government or the population of the local government that is the critical issue. There are soft skills and competencies that Lagos State has, that Rivers State has. Rivers State has been number 1 for some years now, followed by Lagos State. Why was Rivers State able to overcome Lagos State and then have been in the number 1 position for some time? Why is Bayelsa State not in the first 5? Why is it 20-something? These are questions we are going to address in what we are looking at. Achieving effective tax administration system in Nigeria, strategies and best practices for Abia State. What is happening to this? No power what? It's not connected. Overview of the importance of effective taxation administration in Nigeria, and also Abia State as a focal state of study. We know that taxation is crucial for sustainable economic development. Without taxation, governance will suffer challenges because government will not be able to offer and provide and fund public services, infrastructure, and social welfare programs. Even if you are going to borrow, you need to have capacity. If you are number 15 in the ranking we are going to show you, and then you are competing for scarce fund with a state like Rivers that is number 1, the bankers are not Father Christmas. That ranking demonstrates your capacity to use that funds and then be able to repay them. They are going to favor states with higher ranking. So we are working at how do we improve our ranking so that even if we are going to borrow, we have capacity to borrow effectively. In the OECD classification, OECD is a world body and they have interests in many areas of development. They have defined taxes. And that taxation definition is largely followed by Nigeria. What is it? It's compulsory unrequited payments to the general government or to a supranational authority. That supra there means sub-government. So taxation, therefore, can be collected by the national government or the supranational government. The super one, that's federal government, the supra, the states, and then the local governments. Why are they unrequited? They are unrequited in the sense that benefits provided by government to taxpayers are not usually in proportion to their payments. In taxation, we call it no quid pro quo relationship. No quid pro quo. That's a French word. Quid. Quid. Pro. Pro. Quo. Quo. That's another way of saying that taxpayers, what they give government, are not normally in proportion to their payments. There's no quid pro quo. What it means is that you can't take government to court for not using the tax you pay them. It is expected that the tax collected and paid by citizens should be deployed for social welfare, for infrastructure, for development. But there is no direct proportional relationship between money gathered by government through taxation and then the services that are provided. But in spite of that, citizens are expected to pay tax. Effective tax administration is essential for mobilizing domestic revenue. When you mobilize domestic revenue, you now reduce reliance on external sources of funding. From the report by Budgit, Budgit, it's an NGO that has collaboration with world bodies, and they have several areas of emphasis, including revenue generation by governments and by supranational government like states. The recent report shows that only 3 states in Nigeria can exist without the federation account. 3 states. So if we knock off federation account, 33 states will collapse. But 3 states can do without them. They can do without collecting any money from federal government. Lagos State can do without collecting any money from government. Rivers State can do without collecting any money from government. And Ogun State can do without collecting money from government. The rest depend upon government in various proportions. In terms of dependence on government, Abia State depends on government for up to about 88% of the revenue it needs to fund its operations. So how do you rank states? The lower the dependence ratio, the more viable the state is. The higher the dependence ratio, the less viable that state is. We'll see these things as we make progress. Now, as we talk about tax administration, there are common issues that we need to talk about and address. What are those issues? The challenges. Number 1, low compliance rates. We're going to see what those things mean. 2, rampant tax evasion. 3, administrative bottlenecks. 4, inadequate infrastructure. These are challenges that must be tackled if we are going to upscale our competence and capacity in enhancing revenue we are generating from taxation. What we have said is nationwide and not peculiar to Abia State. Presentation structure. How are we making this presentation? Number one, we'll examine the current state of tax administration in Nigeria. 2, identify key challenges. We have mentioned some of them: low compliance rates, corruption, inefficiencies with bureaucracy, in the inadequate infrastructure. 3, we look at statistics to see where we are as a nation, and then how and where we are as a state. Then we propose strategies for enhancing tax administration efficiency. And these strategies include simplifying tax laws, we're going to see that, strengthening enforcement measures and sanctions, using technology, and investing in capacity building initiatives, as we're doing. By fostering collaboration and coordination among government agencies, tax authorities, and stakeholders, this is the way to go. And that's how Nigeria and Abia can overcome these challenges and realize the full potential of its tax administration system, and ultimately contribute to sustainable economic growth and social welfare. This table shows us the tax system we have in Nigeria. There are many ways to classify tax systems, many ways. You can look at them from the perspective of oil generating and making nations. You can look at oil revenue and non-oil revenue. That's one way to classify them. Oil revenue and non-oil revenue. But we're not going to use that. Another way is to look at it from whether it is through taxation or non-taxation. So we now have tax revenue. Number 2, non-tax revenue. So there are 2 classifications. We said number 1, oil revenue and non-oil revenue. Number 2, tax revenue and then non-tax revenue. So that's the system we have in Nigeria. Now for states, we cannot classify states owned into oil revenue because oil is in the exclusive list. It's beyond the legislation and jurisdiction of state governments. But who can categorize their own into tax revenue and non-tax revenue? So under that tax revenue, we're looking at IGR. IGR. What I will tell the facilitators is this. The UNDP person, is he here? It's not here. It's not here. Okay. Now, in training like this, the way to make it really what it should be is to be given certification after each training. And that certification will come after a test. There will be a test. People will take it serious. And they will learn more. And then we can also give exercises. We can give case studies. And at the end of the training, even if it is 2 days, we are giving certificates of proficiency in governance, reporting, and evaluation of tax expenditure. Are you following me? That's the way we should go. I'll do that as a recommendation. So that when you are going, their certification It will be in your curriculum vitae. You come for another one, you are given another certification. And it will count in your advancement and promotion that you have this competence. If they are looking for those who have skills, you have the skill, you have the proficiency, you have the certification. So that with time, you can do this for people in your own unit. You train others. Because you alone cannot upscale, generate the revenue needed for Abia State. So those people under you in your local government or your jurisdiction, they may not be as many as this, but the knowledge you have gained, you pass it to them. Training only the high level, that's stage 1. Stage 2 is to go to the grassroots so that the knowledge you have will be passed to them also. So this recommendation will make sure will pass to the authorities. So look at what tax has been like in Nigeria. This for 2022, you have non-oil taxes. Non-oil taxes. PPT, that is petroleum profit tax. Taxation of oil. Which oil? Oil companies. Which oil companies? Upstream. There are 2 categories of oil companies. We have upstream. We have downstream. The downstream are these people who are selling PMS, okay? Who are selling gas and the rest. That's downstream. The upstream are those who exploit crude oil. Shell, Chevron, and the rest of them. So, when they are taxed, their taxation is petroleum profit tax. But if you have Oando filling station, you have Akabo Eze filling station, Ezeji filling station, they are in downstream. Their own taxation, they are taxed as a company. So they will pay company income tax. They will not pay petroleum profit tax. Petroleum profit tax is for companies engaged in upstream activities. So under non-oil taxes, you have all kinds of taxes. Companies income tax, personal income tax, capital gains tax, value added tax, all kinds of taxes. That's what you have, non-oil taxes. If you look at this figure now, you see that about 70% of revenue, even if you are looking at the actual, there's not much difference between budget and actual. They are close, so we can use anyone. So you can see that about 60% of revenue that accrued to the federal government in 2022 came from non-oil taxes.